Demand more. Get Allmax.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our third episode of Big B Super Heavy Road to the Junior Nationals. Second episode, we did a shoulder workout. We talked a little bit about nutrient and supplement timing and some of the basic supplements pre, intra, and post-workout. Today, I'm going to give you an in-depth view of my contest prep. I'm about 12 weeks out from the Junior Nationals, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing to cut down in preparation for that. We're going to go over specific nutrients, carbs, proteins, fats, and also supplementation. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight on macronutrients and also food prep toward the end, and we're going to kill it with a back workout. To start off my day, typically I'm doing 7, sometimes 8 whole meals a day. That's not including a post-workout shake. My first meal is about 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm doing 8 to 10 ounces of steak. I usually do flank steak, and I'll do 75 grams of carbs from cream of rice, and I also do 10 grams of fats from coconut oil. Along with that, I'll do 500 milligrams of chromium. I'll do a multi-stack vitamin or VitaStack vitamin from Allmax. I do a little bit of amino acids, and I also do 10 grams of creatine, 10 grams of glutamine. In between my first and second meal, I'll do 2 scoops of Allmax Amino Core. It's 16 grams of essential amino acids, and I'll also throw in an extra 5 grams of arginine and another 10 grams of leucine, and I'll do 50 milligrams of zinc. This is going to help keep my body anabolic, and it's also going to help with recovery in between my meals. My second meal typically is 10 ounces of steak. Again, I usually do flank. I'll do about 10 ounces of sweet potatoes. I love asparagus. I pretty much have it with every meal. It also helps with, aiding or getting rid of a little bit extra body or water weight that I don't want. But it's also good for the vitamins and minerals as well, and also fiber. With that, I will take in another 500 milligrams of chromium. I'll do 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of CLA, and that's it actually with that meal. Again, between my second and third meal, I'll do another 2 scoops of amino core, or 5 grams of arginine, 10 grams of leucine, 50 milligrams of zinc, and then I'll throw in some NAC also, which is a good antioxidant intracellular. So it helps get rid of a lot of the toxins that you might be taking in. Meal 4, pretty much the rest of the day it's going to be chicken or fish, usually chicken, pretty much 10 ounces every meal. And I'll vary my carbohydrates anywhere from 8 ounces of sweet potatoes to 10 ounces of red potatoes. Sometimes I'll do 1 1/4 cup of rice. And I like to vary my carbohydrates based around my training, or toward the end of the day I'll kind of taper them off a little bit, because I don't want the larger amounts of carbs going in toward the end of the day when I'm starting to go to sleep. So my last 3 meals are essentially the same, but they're going to be 10 ounces of protein with chicken, and then 8 to 10 ounces of either potatoes or 1 1/4 cups of white rice. With those meals, I'll throw in maybe 10 grams of MCT oil. Sometimes I'll do half of an avocado. But there's really no dramatic changes in between my meals throughout the day. They're all relatively the same, and I portion them out relatively the same as well. So 7 to 8 meals a day, 1 post-workout shake, 75 grams of Isoflex, 100 grams of Carb Ion, and I'll do 10 grams of glutamine, 10 grams of creatine, and a little extra amino acids in there as well. I'm going to go over a little bit of specific roles of particular nutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins. Carbs particularly are essential for energy. They're good for glycogen storage. While you're training, especially, something that I like to do is consume carbs while I'm training. That's going to help push the carbs into the muscle. It's going to help with energy, good contractions, and it's going to keep you from getting fatigued. A lot of people go on low-carb diets and they find themselves getting exhausted, fatigued. When that happens, your body is going to start releasing cortisol due to its fatigue and a lack of nutrients. So we want to try to keep your body fueled with energy. The protein is the building block of muscle. That's your mainstay. That's going to be the base of everything you do. It's going to help with increasing your metabolism. It's going to help with recovering the muscle. It's pretty much the only nutrient that's solely responsible for the building blocks of muscle. Fats can be tricky. You have a lot of different kinds of fats: saturated, trans, polyunsaturated, monounsaturated. The best kinds, in my opinion, are MCTs, medium chain triglyceride. That's kind of like a coconut oil. It's metabolized through the liver. It's not going to be stored as body fat. It helps with protein synthesis. It also helps with increasing your metabolism. Omega-3 fatty acid, I can't say enough about that. It's absolutely essential for us to supplement that, because as humans, we don't have the ability to create them. So it helps with cognitive function, it helps with mental acuity, it has anti-inflammatory properties. So it really goes a long way supplementing your omega-3s for optimal health and recovery. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about calories. People talk about calories and they ask how much I'm taking in or how much they should be taking in, and I pretty much think it's garbage, to be honest with you. I don't pay attention to the calorie intake whatsoever. What I do pay attention to is the specific amounts of nutrients that you're taking in categorized from fats, proteins, and carbs. I'll give myself as an example. I'm trying to build muscle. I'm 280 pounds. That being said, my protein is going to be about 2 grams a pound per body weight. My carbs are 2 to 2.5 grams per pound of body weight. And my fats, I'm doing something close to 70 to 80 grams a day. That's because I need a lot of each nutrient to help supply the demand that my body needs. Somebody maybe who's trying to lose weight, I wouldn't tell them to go and cut 500 calories from their diet because you never know where they're coming from. If there's 9 calories from fats or 4 calories from protein, they can come from either direction. So if you're cutting all your protein and you're leaving all the calories in from fat, you're absolutely going to lose weight, but it's going to come from muscle. So you want to try to find a good balance where it's coming from your carbs, your proteins, or your fats. So typically with me, anybody that I train or I give advice to regarding nutrition, I keep their protein higher because you need to maintain your muscle mass. I keep their carbs moderate to low depending on their activity level. If they're sedentary, I keep it lower. If they're very active, we'll give it a little bit of a higher ratio because they're active and they need that for fuel. And depending on that also with their fats, throwing in an MCT such as coconut oil, but also always supplementing an omega-3. No matter what you do, you should always supplement omega-3 just because of its health benefits. So that's my take on calories. It's a reference number. Keep your eyes on the specific nutrient amounts that you need to reach your goals. Next, nutrient timing. The biggest thing around your workouts is going to be the timing that you're taking in with your supplements and food. Particularly with my diet, what I'm doing is about an hour before I train, I'm doing 10 ounces of chicken, and I usually do 10 ounces of sweet potatoes, a little bit of a vegetable. I keep my fat low. An hour later exactly, I'm in here hitting it in the gym. During my workout, like I said, right now I'm doing about 50 grams of carb ion. That's our carb complex powder from Allmax, and then the amino acids, a little bit of taurine, some leucine, and some arginine. Post-workout is going to be a post-workout shake. I'm going to do 75 grams of Isoflex, another 100 grams of carb ion, 10 grams of glutamine, 10 grams of creatine. An hour after that, I'm going to have another high-protein, low-fat meal, also high carbs, typically 10 ounces of chicken, low-fat, carbohydrates, either white rice or red potatoes. I like a little bit of starch because it gets utilized a little bit quicker. Now, the point of the whole carbohydrate thing is that it's going to help me with glycogen storage. With me, my body is burning constantly. I'm doing cardio now, my training is up, I'm doing a lot of meals, so my metabolism is revving, so I need to constantly keep my body flooded with nutrients. So that's why I'm taking in even these high portions of meals, even around my training. That's what's going to keep me anabolic. It's going to keep my muscles full of glycogen. I'm going to be able to fill them up with a lot of blood, which is going to cause them to expand. Essentially, that's what we're going for. So with the carbs also, it's going to help blunt the cortisol release, as we said before, doing that pre, post, and intra, rather. And after the workout, after you're done with your workout, your body is going to be pretty much the most vulnerable it's going to be for nutrients. So having the pre-workout or having the shake after you're done is pre-digested. So it's going to get into your body, broken down already. It's going to get straight into the muscle. It's going to help you recover quicker. Your body's still vulnerable for those nutrients even after that shake. So an hour later, I'm going to have that high protein, high carb meal, and I'm just going to keep it burning and keep it growing and just try to recover it as fast as I possibly can. So you want to take advantage of that time around your workouts to utilize those nutrients for recovery and for performance. All right, lastly, we're going to talk about food prep. Big issue with a lot of people, efficiency and time, and maybe not knowing how to go about it. So I'll tell you what I do, and as far as how I cook all my foods and how I prepare. I do it each night. I don't cook days on end or 3 or 4 days ahead of time just because I consume so much food anyway. I don't have that kind of refrigerator space, so I'm stuck doing it pretty much daily. At night, what I'll do is I'll go home, I'll throw all my chicken, all my steak on a grill, and I'll let that cook at one time. I utilize my oven, I utilize my stove, I use the grill, and the rice maker, whatever it is. You can use crock pots, things like that. If they're gonna take a long time to cook, you can do other things in the meantime. So I'll peel my sweet potatoes, cut them up, my red potatoes, cut them up. I'll put them in the oven, 450, and I'll cook them for about an hour and a half, and I'll just let them sit there. In the meantime, I've already got my chicken ready, it's on the grill, my steak's on the grill, so that I can kind of keep an eye on, as well as like my white rice or my brown rice pasta. That's boiling, the rice is sitting. So really, that's pretty much how I do things. I do everything all at one time at the same time, and I try to utilize, all my tools to get it all done at once. So try to do that rather than, cooking one thing at a time. Try to multitask with everything. Be prepared. That's going to be the biggest thing. Whether you're a competitive bodybuilder or an athlete of any kind, or if you're just trying to lose weight or reach a goal, preparation is going to be key. So you want to try to plan ahead of time. If you know what your schedule is the next day, plan ahead and see where you're going to be able to get your meals in, or what obstacles you're going to have, so you can tackle them early on. Next, we're going to go into a back workout. We're going to hit some deads, some heavy rows, try to get some size on these wings of mine. Let's get it. All right, so first movement, we did bent dumbbell rows, just a variation of barbell rows. I like to switch between barbell and dumbbells just because I had the opportunity to adjust the plane of movement with the dumbbells as opposed to having such a restricted range of motion with a barbell. Started off with some 90s and worked up to 125. I generally don't count reps too much, but I get to a point to where I'm at about failure, or till I start recruiting other muscle groups to pull the weight up. So I always try to keep the weight or the muscle isolated as much as possible. This is a good movement to start off with. Like I said, it's a nice compound movement, and I really get a good squeeze, and the range of motion is a little bit greater too, because you can pull your elbows past your torso as opposed to a barbell. Second movement, we did underhand or like reverse grip pull downs with a straight bar. I happen to like these because, again, it's a greater range of motion. Hits the lower lats a little bit more, and you're a little bit more apt to adjust your elbows and really squeeze in the lats a little bit. I try to use very little momentum on this, along with every other movement, but what I do is I get a full stretch. Pretty much my arms are locked, and I get in between my arms with my head, so I'm in an optimal stretch. I then, before I start to pull down, I'll actually arch my back, and basically what that does is it puts myself in a position for an optimal contraction when I start to pull down the weight, rather than leaning back and pulling down at the same time, using momentum. So I try to get as optimal of a contraction as I can on that movement. Third movement, did a hammer strength row. Sometimes I do these one at a time, but I like to do them both at the same time, and I really focus on keeping my chest out. I keep my hips back, so I'm leaning into the pad a little bit. When you push your hips forward and you lean back, you leave your torso open, so you're going to be using a lot more arms. So leaning into the pad with my chest out, I'm able to pull with my lats. I squeeze my shoulder blades together, and then I pull back with my elbows, and that really puts a tremendous amount of tension on my lats, and especially my lower lats and my inner back. I keep my chest out as I'm coming forward with the weight. I never hunch forward again, because it takes the tension off, and pulling back initially, you'll have to start with your arms. So great power movement there. It's good. Hammer strength is a great movement, just because you can control the weight and you get a real good squeeze with it. Fourth movement, we did close bar cable rows. The bar that I use in particular, it's not your necessary V bar. It's a little bit wider. I happen to like that because, being wider, I'm able to pull my elbows back a little bit farther with that bar, rather than the closer one. I'm using a lot of forearms, and my range of motion is hindered. So with this, I'm able to really pull my elbows back. I can really squeeze my lats a lot and get a good stretch and a good contraction with it. Again, when I start with this, I keep my hips back. I keep my torso in front of me. So when I stretch and then when I pull back, I'm actually upright, and my body isn't at an open angle. I'm not leaning back using my arms. So all the tension is going to stay on my back the entire time, and I'm using little to no arms at all on that movement. It's great for width, it's good for contraction, sculpting. I get a great pump with it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in to video number 3 of the Big B Super Heavy Project, Road to Junior Nationals. Next one, episode 4, we're going to talk about show prep, everything that goes into it, from losing weight, building muscle, the role of cardio, and how to burn body fat. We're going to start getting into a little bit of the nitty-gritty on how things go toward the end of a contest prep. So hope you guys are having as much fun as I am. We'll see you next time.